Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, Sid.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Oh, it's the pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time, obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to Double Feature Horror Show, episode 194. I hope you are well, and thank you for joining us as we continue our rewatch of the 28X Later series. Yeah, this is the imaginatively named 28 Weeks Later. We'll get into a little bit of that. I can confirm I have seen 28 Years Later. I saw that last night. I see exactly why it's divisive, but I come out rather positive on it, and we'll get to go into that next week. Another thing I saw is Longlegs. Guys, a few of you in here were absolutely roasting that film. I don't see it.
I watched that a few weeks ago.
Harry, was it you? Were you saying Longlegs was dreck?
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's got some decent tension and like tension building to it. But man, I love Nicolas Cage. Right, his performances are unique. They're daring. They're inventive. They're not scary though. He was not scary. He was scary visually when he didn't say a word. But the second you hear him singing loudly to himself in the car, I just burst out laughing.
Oh no. It was good to hide his face, because if you see it's the Cage, it's over. But apparently the vocal revelation of Nick Cage was too much for you.
Yeah, Mr. Gently Benevolent. If you're just going to say I'm second best Spice Carl, don't compliment me at all. But thank you anyway.
Can we shoot up the poster like Nick Cage, John Travolta, face-off style with like based off? Can we do that? Anyone want to get that one ready? You know,
who would you swap your face with? Just out of interest, Harry.
Oh,
if push came to shove, who would you swap your face with?
If push came to shove, I'm pretty happy with my face, to be honest. I don't want to swap my face with anybody.
Yeah, but you got to pick one.
Random ethnic women are starting to compliment my looks on Twitter.
Ooh.
Not that. It's very, very strange when I see that. No, I'm not going to swap my face with anybody.
We are going to need any choice phrases.
It means that somebody else gets my face, and I don't want anybody else walking around with my face. This is the maker.
So you're saying bot women are you're falling in love with bots?
No, they're falling in love with me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, hey.
Did this start to happen around the time Grok went all bit skeweth?
It's around the time I put the Burger King hat on.
You are really making me think of a particular Stone Toss comic here.
Nobody cared who I was until I put on the crown.
Yeah. Bots still aren't as bad as last summer where I was getting crypto porn bots.
Oh, the porn bots were bad, but the crypto
they were not crypto. They were not trying to deceive you. They were very upfront about what they were selling.
Gooch coin. Oh dear. Terrible. Well, folks, as you can tell, we are joined again, as we will be for this entire arc, by channel favourite Harry. Welcome, Harry.
Hello. I looked into it and saw that the sequel to 28 Years Later, you said was the Candyman director. I didn't realize that was Nia DaCosta. I recognize that name now that I've looked into it. I'm horrified, disappointed, and most of all, confused.
It might be the balancing out of this very white film.
Alex Garland wrote all 3 of them. So why did Danny Boyle feel the need to take a siesta for the second one when he's coming back for the third one?
I can answer that. He had commitments at the time to another film, Sunshine, which was being made around the same time.
I thought he already made a film called Sunshine.
No, but that was because of his commitments. So
I'm talking about the new ones.
Oh, I'll shut up then.
There we go. I don't know. Maybe 3 films could just be a bit too much. Not everyone can Peter Jackson it.
Yeah, but why Nia DaCosta though?
Yeah, but right, okay. So is this going to go down the same route as the Star Wars sequels?
Because I've got a bad feeling about this, right? Because I was pleasantly surprised with the lack of diversity in 28 years later. It's less diverse than both of these films. Remarkably reflective of the kind of demographics that you would expect in Northern England in 2002, right?
That's why they're going to balance it out.
And then I see that they've got race grifter Nia DaCosta involved in this second one, and then I go on Wikipedia and immediately see that in one of the main groups that's going to be the focal point of this new one is some random mixed race girl, and I thought to myself, oh no, there's going to be some commentary with her, isn't there? I'm going to get the message.
Danny Boyle has to get the dong in, and Nia DaCosta, well, she's got her own equivalent. You know, they got a gimmick. What can I say?
Maybe the message will get his throat ripped out by the end, though.
Yeah, maybe. But if they do that, you'll know that it was a bad thing that it happened, and it was only due to the oppression and neglect of the white characters. I've got that bad feeling. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, but it's Nia DaCosta, for God's sake.
Yeah, it does make you worry. It does make you worry. Well, tell you what, I feel we're raring to go, so I'll get the quick shills out the way. Just really quick, everyone's links are in the description. Go sign up as a member on lotuseaters.com for Harry, and say we sent you, etc. Links to TCG and Murgoot socials are in the description as well. Go follow them. For me, you can support the channel by super chats on here or on Subscribe Star as a member. It's all welcome. There you go. And we will now get into it. 28 weeks. Oh, perfect. Lawrence Hendry. Perfect. There you go. That's exactly how you support the channel. You send in a super chat like Lawrence has. Thank you so much. £5, very well received. Screaming blood viscera. About last week's review. Yeah. We weren't that harsh on it, were we? We were we're a little harsh. We're a little
bit harsh.
Only because we love it. Actually, you know what? There is one thing we should do before we really get into it, and we should explain what the heck is up with TCG's horrific avatar. I'm going to make sure everyone can see that. Does that work?
That works.
Yep.
TCG, do you want to explain what
it's
the
like
heck
I'm
is
facing
going on
my
before we
evil
get
twin.
into it?
It is your evil twin.
The
wife and I have been binge watching Crime Watch on YouTube lately, and so naturally YouTube thinks, oh, you like Crime Watch, how about more Crime Watch from these other channels? And one of the videos it was recommending had like a bunch of like photos on it, like mugshots, e-fits and whatnot. I was instantly drawn to this one because I almost felt like phoning Crime Stoppers and saying, I think I know this person.
Here you go. Here you are, folks.
Listen, nothing has yet been proven in a court of law.
Well,
what do you mean? We have Harry Robinson at home.
Yeah, he has an alibi. Although, mind you, you can't use live streaming as an alibi, because if you followed the Stephen McCullough video that I made, he tried that whilst allegedly, because for some reason the court case is still pending after like 3-4 years, but allegedly he murdered his pregnant girlfriend, and his alibi was I was live streaming at the time. Go check it out.
Okay, but I actually do live stream quite a lot with other people who can verify my whereabouts at the time. So there you go.
All I'm going to say is accomplices.
All I'm going to say is what I said before the live stream started. This looks like me if you gave me the Team America treatment, where Matt and Trey put the little clay model in a little bit too long, and Matt Damon ended up Down syndrome.
I mean, look, no one comes out well out of this. We have got extreme meth inbred Miley Cyrus in the top left. We've got Hillary. Top right is Hillary Clinton, the donut years.
We've got some mystery meat. Mystery meat in the bottom right corner.
Oh, no one knows what's going on there.
Who knows what that is? We've got gender swapped Peter Steele, middle right.
Oh,
we've got the lady at the bottom next to you on the right. I'm pretty sure she was in that body cam footage that went viral.
Oh yeah,
going for the Chinese officer. Yeah,
yeah.
Or it might be Nia DaCosta. I can't tell.
Oh gosh, I was just waiting to see if chat would give us any words, but no.
Thank you for the
safe.
chat, by the way. Somebody, OS Wolf, saying, "Don't worry, Harry. It looks nothing like you." Thank you. People just have a habit of seeing like dark blonde white guy with slightly long hair and going, "Look, Harry, it's you," even if otherwise they look nothing like me.
He says, "Well, no.
Hang on, are these I just for the record, I haven't actually watched this yet. I just saw that.
Are these victims?
Yeah. If they are, then I take it back.
Oh, TCG, how could you? How could you?
I haven't actually watched the video. I saw that and I thought, oh, it's Harry.
Oh,
okay,
I'll move us on. I'll move us on in case
moving
we've got
on
you in
swiftly.
hot water. Moving on to say thank you, Mr. GB, for once again.
Oh, nice.
Testing the memberships. We love our members, don't we, folks? And we're very fond of those who gift memberships. Thank you very much, Mr. Gently Benevolent. Another voter for the ARC Selector pool. Whoever got that, well done you. And Murgoot, cheers.
Murgoot
trying to save he's trying to save his voice. I know he is. Bless him.
Oh yeah, true. Sorry.
This is out of the box thinking for a guy who's borderline, well, post laryngitis, but has a work ethic that just has to be admired.
According to Sarah Lee, those people in the pictures are unidentified murder victims. So confirmed it couldn't be me.
Fair enough.
Couldn't be me because as far as anybody knows, I'm alive.
Yeah, no, for the record, I don't actually make fun of things like that. I'm just oh wow. What a Freudian.
How could you, TCG? How could you?
No, I just saw the thumbnail. I didn't watch it. If I knew that, then I wouldn't have done that.
No, we were enjoying a little bit of the old shoe pups.
Yeah. But no, thank you, Sarah, for confirming.
Taken too seriously.
Yeah.
There we go. So we are. There's going to be worse jokes ahead, by the way. We are looking at 28 weeks later. Not directed by Danny Boyle. Not written by. Getting cancelled. I'm going to remember the names here. Crikey! No, they've gone out of my head already. Let me find my people. Not written by Alex Garland. We've got a new team in. Sort of an interesting bit of perspective here in that they had a bit of a switcheroo. We have a new direction. I'm sorry, I've lost my tab where I've got the got all those details in. This is so annoying. Bloody hell! All right, sorry, folks. This is going to take me a second to pull it up.
Do you have 10,000 tabs open at all times?
Yes.
I wouldn't know what that was like.
I've gone full mundane Matt. It's endless tabs. Right, here we go. So our stand-ins for the director and writer combo are Juan Carlos Frenadio. Apologies in advance. That's almost certainly pronounced wrong. With writing originally by Roland Joffe, but backed up by Frenadillo and two others, E.L. Levine and Jesus Olmo. Interesting selections. Why these guys? Why were they brought in? Well, also, incidentally, classic. This is a case of American involvement after the first was a big hit. You may have noticed at the start of this, guys, this cheeky little logo.
No.
Ah. Fox Atomic. So one of the subdivisions of Fox making smaller genre picks. Think of it as the Fox equivalent of Dimension Films. So the genre production brand, sorry, the genre production subdivision of Miramax. There you go. So this is a bit of American money coming in, and you know, as you would maybe expect from America, the hard work needed doing, so they got in a bunch of Spanish-speaking dudes. There's your one cheap joke of the night. I'm just kidding. They actually called it 28 weeks later because that is the standard delivery time in response to due date when you bring in Spanish speakers. There is the last terrible joke of the stream. Apologies.
Uh-huh.
They're done. They're done. They're done. All right. That Radio 4 career is done, isn't it? No. Basically, why the switcheroo? Allegedly, as TCG referenced earlier, there was other commitments. So Danny Boyle was committed to Sunshine at the time, again with Cillian Murphy. But this took a little while to get off the ground, particularly the script was not exactly well received and needed some reworking. You know, you got the 3 script writers on it. That delayed production of this, but eventually went ahead. And I have a feeling that Alex Garland was not super happy about it, you know, from, you know, everyone is being professional, but certain comments that are dropped are, you know, hinting that he was not happy with it and that he felt it was a bit over commercialized.
Well, Boyle
reckon?
and Garland were listed as executive producers at the end of the film. So was this must have been something where Garland in particular was overrided, or however you say it, with any creative decisions? Because I imagine he still would have had at least some input, unless that it really was just a case of them sticking their names at the end of it.
It's possible. I'm quite interested in the executive producer world, because a lot of the times you get your name on just because you sort of have the rights to a certain property. But you may or may not have actually really done anything. It's often a kind of courtesy credit.
Yeah, I mean, this would have been the first sequel to a Danny Boyle film as well, as far as I'm aware, because he's normally someone who's known for doing original single productions. The only other ones he's been involved in are Trainspotting 2 and now 28 Years Later. So I can't imagine it was a particularly great experience if they were unhappy with it.
Yeah, it'd probably be just a very different environment. I mean, something we see in this is, I think, a very notable commercialization. Even whilst it's not fully commercialized, there are certain, say, standard moves in this that are made that made me think, okay, this is more of a studio production, you know? I'm thinking particularly of, gosh, where is it? This boy. Harold Perrineau and Jeremy Renner, and a little bit of a jump scare. I was like, okay, that's... Yeah. Bless you.
Yeah, doing
That's so relatable.
Just a quick one, because Sweepy Joe and Stretford Ender have both asked. Did Danny Boyle direct the opening scene of the film?
I'm not actually sure. I hadn't seen about that. Don't know if anyone had gone for that.
I'm going to try and find out.
You have a look up. He wouldn't necessarily need to. I mean, something that's worth saying is Frenedio, who I absolutely cannot pronounce. He got the job in a sort of classic horror way. He'd done a short film that was not really short. He'd done an independent film, very low budget, that was fondly received, and the studio thought, okay, this is our guy. That film was Intacto, and I think the film the bit that they were particularly interested in Intacto is this really amazing sequence where a bunch of guys, to test who is luckiest, run through a forest blindfolded. And basically see who lives.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's a weird little movie. I'm not sure I'd fully recommend it, but it's very interesting. Basically, it's around the idea of in that film, people have luck as like a commodity that they can trade. And there's kind of an underground movement to find who is luckiest. And so you get these weird sequences where people, leave their bodily autonomy to chance, and it ends very nastily for a lot of them. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Can confirm, as Tricky Mental says, he did. He did.
Well
directly
done,
opening
Danny
scene.
Boyle, and well done everyone who gave that trivia. Yeah.
To be fair, that is such a great scene, that opening scene.
Yeah. I mean, I want to pitch this out because I've seen the lot now. That's the best opening by far.
Yeah. The whole conundrum. Is it Don? It's
Don,
Don, isn't it?
indeed.
Don.
Yes.
Faces
Carlisle's character
has a lot of conversation about it. In the immediate sort of like days, weeks, months, years, even since this film came out, as to whether he actually did anything wrong.
And it has such a great payoff, right? It's such a great payoff, right? There's so much conflict generated by that later in the film, right?
So much.
Well,
oh no.
Are you going to say yes?
it's in there, but it's not the crux of the movie. It does have a very good resolution, but the crux of the movie not so much.
I mean,
that gets a bit lost.
It's there for a minute. Anyway, I don't want to derail.
Tell you what, should we get straight into? We talked a little bit about the production. Should we give people the quick back of the VHS summary of this? Anyone stepping forward? I know Murgoot's out of action with the throat at the moment. So,
go on, Harry. I tried last week and completely derailed.
All right, I guess I will do it. So, what's this guy's name? What's Robert Carlyle's name in the film? I didn't.
Don.
I'll be honest. I didn't catch anyone's name in this. I don't know why. They just didn't go in. So Don and his wife are hiding out in a little cottage out in the rural countryside with a few other people, an older couple, some random Arab, and a woman whose boyfriend has gone out into the out searching for resources. They're stuck in there. They're making tea. They're sitting down for dinner. A little boy comes and knocks on the door, screaming for help. And then it turns out, shockingly enough, the kid who was asking for help had been followed by zombies, which had stealth mode on right up until they developed the superhuman strength to burst through boarded up wooden doors and windows. Impressive how the zombie virus does that to people. To a situation
roboting.
Almost trapped in a room upstairs with sorry.
You're roboting.
Sorry, Murgoot. Yeah, lots of people have been roboting for me so far.
Oh, really? Chat, is roboting coming through for you, or is it just us?
I am in hotel Wi-Fi, so it might just be me.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Harry.
It's all right. Shall I carry on?
Let's plow on. It's all good. It's all good, I'm sure. Chat will tell us.
All right. So yeah, he's in this situation where he has to choose between escaping by himself or potentially dying with his wife and this little boy that they rescued. He chooses to save his own skin, legs it. The Arab guy has been up at a boat, and he basically kicks the guy off of the boat and fails to save him. The other guy gets turned into a zombie, and he escapes. Then we get a time skip to 28 weeks later. All of the zombies and America and NATO forces have started to retake the mainland. They have cordoned off a section of London. Is it the Isle of Dogs?
Yes.
Yes, they're in the
It is, yeah.
Yeah. They're Canary Wharf, the Isle of Dogs. They've cordoned that bit off, and they're slowly reintroducing the population as they have been ferried back across the channel from France from refugee camps. There, we're introduced to Don and his wife's children. who are happy to see him. They're all sad to see that that their mother is dead, though. When explaining why she's dead, he leaves out the whole part of leaving her and this child behind. And then they want to get a photograph of their mother because the little boy, what was his name? Albert?
Andy?
Andy, yes. Andy is worried that he will forget what his mother looks like. And so they go back to the house. They sneak out of the cordoned area, sneak back to the house, get a photograph, and discover, dun, 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 their mother is still alive. She's not actually a zombie, or is she?
And
she's
not
been
only alive, she is clearly a first-year art student. Look at the state of this place.
Well, we've all
only
been there. Who hasn't had a little bit of maggots in the kitchen action?
Well, I have.
Clearly, she's got a Coke bottle or two full of piss in there.
I mean, what else is she supposed to drink? Anyway.
Sorry, I was in halls with art students. It was
moving on. The NATO and American forces have followed the kids because, I mean, it was very easy to see them escaping the cordoned off zone. Follow the kids, bring them back, and bring back the mother. Test her, realize that she's infected, and think maybe Rose Byrne. Rose Byrne is a character in this. I say character. She's in it, and she is kind of there, and she maybe does things, but she's not really a focal point. She says that they may be able to find a cure to the virus. They might be able to come up with a vaccine of some form, etc., etc. Idris Elba, who's also in this for about 5 minutes, says it's too risky. We're going to need to kill her. And while they're doing this, Don has realized that his wife is back and goes to visit her.
Can I pause here quickly, Harry? Because this is just a callback to... It just reminded me of one of your greatest takes of all time.
Which one is that? I have many.
It was Day of the Dead. And how scary military guy and smart scientist woman... the military guy is actually 100% correct, and smart scientist woman with her compassionate move wrecks everything.
Oh yeah, they should have just killed her straight away.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously she was infected, but
how did they not immediately shoot her on sight when she was acting kind of?
My problem with this scene is if she's suspected of carrying the virus and they're analyzing her blood before releasing her, why the hell aren't there doctors observing her at the very least? If
why are there no guards?
2 military guards watching her.
I mean, this film would have stopped.
Are we just going to?
Because the film would have stopped if he'd gone to visit her and they said, "Sorry, we can't show any visitors right now." And he goes,
"Yeah,
oh, okay, I'll come back when I can see her then," and turns around and leaves. Then the film's done.
Well, they could have. I don't know. Well, I just don't like how it makes no sense that a caretaker has this much level of access to such to what you would presume to be restricted areas of the building.
Are you not satisfied with his dialogue about how he's got a card?
Yeah,
but I mean, a refugee who's admitted watching people die take over a NATO-controlled base.
Listen, TCG, he's got top clearance, okay?
He told you in that one scene.
I know,
he's Idris Elba's top guy.
But it's why?
Whoa. Why? This is...
Apologies, Harry. I was reminded of your excellent Day of the Dead take, and I had to get that in there.
I agree. There are many cases in films like this where pragmatic military guy is right, but in this, at the very least, in this case, Idris Elba is not humoring her for 90% of the film before everything goes wrong. He just doesn't get the chance to have her killed before everything goes wrong because he's about to have the trigger pulled. It's just that for some reason, I guess both of the guards and all the doctors needed the toilet.
Yeah.
So,
the other
John,
thing
not
is
suspecting anything wrong with this whole situation or asking his wife how she survived or saying, "Did you get bit?" or anything, just immediately makes out with her. And she just does it with him as well. You know, I would expect there to be a little bit of dialogue and a little bit of anger on her part saying, "You abandoned me." But no, they just kiss and then he changes and then she gets, and then in a callback to the first film, he like caves her eyes in after he's changed with his thumbs. Excuse me. With his thumbs, which just seemed like, again, a callback to the first film.
It's kind of like his special move in this film, because you see him do it a couple of times, don't you?
Yeah, he keeps doing it. Whereas in the first film, it seemed like Cillian Murphy was doing that, one for the visual and because he's fighting soldiers who are like got a bit of armor on them, so it was the easiest way to hurt the guy he was doing it to. He just does it because, hey, they did it in the film. Anyway,
I will quibble on that, but we'll finish the summary. I have a big 140 IQ reach on that one, but we'll come back to that one.
Anyway, the entire facility goes to hell because they lock, for some reason, instead of just locking the doors to the medical facilities where Don, the zombie now, was in. How he managed to get out of that room when he was a zombie and didn't know how to use a key card anymore, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know how he got out of that room. He just did.
That's one of the things that I had problems with. Don is a rager now, and he's showing patience. He's showing knowledge of how to use things. It's
when they're firebombing the streets, he's able to hide from the fire, which for some reason chooses not to go down the alleyway he's hiding in.
I think very clearly no clips.
Yeah, but do you think
he went
just typed ID no clip?
Minutes, yeah.
I have thought about Don's behavior in this film once he becomes a rager, right? And is it like, it's kind of like, I feel like it's kind of like a Dracula thing, right? So, and what I mean by that is you have your pure blood, i.e., like the original, right? Who essentially is like a day walker, night walker, whatever, right? And then you have like the offspring, which is sort of like the more degenerated versions. So when Don's wife is infected, she mutates, but in a way that she doesn't turn, so she's a carrier, right? So when she infects Don, it's kind of like a different one, like a different
mutated version.
It's like a mutated version of it. But then when he then goes on to turn other people, it's almost like the bog standard rage virus. That's my head canon working. Yeah, I mean, for some reason, you kind of have to headcanon your way into thinking, why is he being patient? Why is he almost strategic? Why is he stalking? It is a bit of the only thing I can think of that could possibly make sense would would be like a mutated strain of the virus.
Well, I think that's kind of what they're going for here.
Yeah,
there's nothing to explain it explicitly. You kind of just have to intuit and infer it when there's a lot of conflicting information in the film. Now, having watched 28 years later, the zombies by that point have evolved into Left 4 Dead video game zombies. And I was expecting there to be some kind of elaboration, connective tissue in this one. That also works, Jay Panksher.
I'm so glad you stated it. And
I think there's a lot
so
of
glad that everyone picked
on.
up on how does he get out the room when he's a rager? But because the scene cut. And in the next scene, he was out.
I mean, in 28 years later, we're explicitly shown smart zombies.
No.
Not
sorry.
Sorry. That's not spoiling too much. Again, I
kind of gathered it from the trailers, to be fair.
Yeah, there's
sorry, TCG.
I was expecting connective tissue, and this film does not provide that connective tissue. I was expecting Rose Byrne to do like a little exposition dump at some point of, the virus is mutated and she's able to react and behave more like a human, but she's still got some of the rage in her, but it allows her to strategize. I was expecting the wife, the mother, to be a much bigger part of the film, which she wasn't, because she just gets killed. I was expecting from the beginning, because it sets up that there's going to be conflict, there's going to be emotional conflict. As a family, I was expecting that she would start the outbreak somehow by accident, maybe NATO messes up, and then the outbreak happens. Don is trying to protect his family, but there's this constant tension of, is she going to turn? Is she going to become more of a rager? Is there going to be some switch? Is she going to decide to align herself with them? Is there going to be familial conflict with the children when the mother tells them exactly what happened? Your father left me. There's going to be some conflict there. None of that happens because he just kills her.
That would have made much better of a movie.
Yeah, that's what I was.
yeah.
That's what I was expecting, and you would have had a greater tension with the whole family trying to make their way through the chaos instead of just Jeremy Renner being action hero, American soldier, good guy, and the whole film kind of being a weird, very of its time allegory for the Iraq occupation.
What makes you think that?
It was the most transparent allegory I've seen in a long while, except for I did watch a film recently called Talk to Me, which was an incredibly transparent horror movie drug addiction allegory, where the message seemed to be, don't trust non-whites, they will feed white kids drugs and ruin their lives. That was unironically.
Wow.
Unironically.
We have to discuss Talk to Me, Harry, because I love that movie and I got a very different read.
I really enjoyed it, but the message that I got from it was that stereotypes about kids who deal drugs are true. Don't go near them.
Yes, base.
And anyway,
sorry, we've already derailed. Can I just ask one thing? You really picked up on Rose Byrne being in this. I just want to ask what's a Rose Byrne connection? Are you a Bernie bro? Are you a big fan?
Bernie bro.
That's what they're called, right?
She is one of those actresses who has showed up in films that I have watched that I find completely unremarkable. I can't think of a single Rose Byrne.
Hold on.
Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones.
She was in that?
Yes.
Insidious.
Is she?
Yeah.
Hang on. What?
Yeah, I think she's the wife.
She's Luminous as well. Goodness me.
What?
Well, who knew?
I watched all of the show. What an impact her performance made on me. That I didn't remember. I remembered Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson's good.
We love Night Owl showing up. You know, we're Night Owl
over my
fans. Oh bless. Sorry. Okay, we'll back onto it. So
that's all right.
Straight into the Iraq War allegory.
Yeah, for some reason, completely illogically, again, instead of just cordoning off the whole lab section of the facility, they gather all of the refugees, put them into a dark car park with no light.
That was so stupid.
And then lock them in, except there's another door that they don't lock that Don comes in through. So presumably they thought, oh God, there's an outbreak in the lab. What do we do? Quick, put them in the car park where there's a door that connects to the lab. Don't lock that door. Yeah, there's also, because movie needs to happen. Yeah.
I feel we might need a, how would pitch meeting put it? You know, surely
the military incompetent again, just to make the point from the first movie.
Yeah, these films
how on earth are they
really
get
hate
there?
the military.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience. Oh, sorry, I'm a little delayed in this, by the way. I just want to say thank you as we quoted your because movie needs to happen a lot more than your actual super chat, Jay Pankser. So I apologize for that. Thank you very much for the $5. Much appreciated. Saying, I appreciate the stream. Hated the middle and third acts of the new film. They're going to be divisive. I understand it. Very Marmite. I went for it. Would I like it?
I really enjoyed it.
Don't know. I'm looking forward to the discussion because it worked for me massively.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot like last week's stream where we slate the hell out of it. However, at the end of it, we're like, yeah, no, definitely good film.
Oh yeah, that ending, yuck. Without any spoilers for TCG, yes. No spoilers, but the ossuary scene was evil. They had a ladder.
The Mayan Tower of Skulls was
the TCG.
It's in the trailer.
It's in the trailer. That's fine.
That's what I was about to say. The Mayan Tower of Skulls was just that hit me the wrong way.
Oh, how can I say? I don't know if I can talk about it without spoiling, but the payoff to that I saw coming and I loved it because it made sense perfectly for
that's
the
the thing.
message I read in the film.
Maybe this is going to be contentious, and we'll get onto it next week. I feel like in terms of pure character writing and character decisions, 28 years later is by far and away the best of these films. I feel like the actual character decisions, 28 years later is quite unique in this series in that none of the characters have brain damage.
Keeping it spoiler free, can I ask, would you say there was kind of a I'm trying to be opaque here, but quite a Jonathan Pajot sort of thing going on with the characters?
I'm not familiar with Pajot's work.
Was it dealing? Did you think it was dealing in the mythic archetype? There we go. That's what I was trying to get at in slightly coded language. Hopefully, that's not giving anything away. TCG
went right over my head. You're good.
Perfect. Lawrence Hendry, thank you very much. Using the member privilege, big fan, but even I found that ridiculous. The pragmatics, the actual world building may not hold up, but I'm a sucker for a bit of a good message. So
are we talking? Sorry, we talk about the locked in scene when they're all locked in that one room now.
Oh, that's a good point, Lawrence. Which scene are you talking about? Was it?
I'm pretty sure he sent that when we were talking about that, because I was going to say it would have made much more sense for them just to be locked down in their rooms.
Yes,
that would have made way more sense, and could have led to some tension with the characters waiting around in their rooms. Maybe one of the zombies is at the door. They even have to find a way to open a window, climb around the outside of the building. There could have been some interesting set piece design with that, but they didn't do that. In the same way that they decided, do we want to have some interesting and relatable family drama? No, we'll just kill her off. And Don's just a sometimes mindless zombie, sometimes super genius zombie.
One thing I was going to say,
scene needs.
Knowing that Danny Boyle directed that opening scene, but not the rest of the film, presumably, do we think that the people who took on the role, took on that role after the fact, may have had an influence in maybe rewriting that out, or was this always Danny? Because I'm assuming Danny Boyle wrote it, or Alex Garland wrote it. So I'm just wondering if there was any sort of rewrites in this film, and if that would have had an impact on the story. Because I completely agree, had it been some sort of family drama with that tension, I think it would have been a much, much better film.
I feel like PH said,
but essentially
explaining the production of this film, it sounds like there were quite a few rewrites.
Yeah, so, Roland Joffe did the first script, which was a working script, which could have been in place for a while. But when Frenadillo comes on board, that's when he does a total rewrite with
because
that would explain it.
I mean, essentially, it just turned into it just turned into a linear adventure, didn't it? Get to the end of the level to complete the game, or to complete the level.
Helicopter, literally Predator. Get to the chopper.
Yeah, the McMuffin. The chopper's the McMuffin. We've got to get to the McMuffin.
Very true. Also, once the chopper attempts to land once in an area, it's gone. It can't come back. You can't reattempt.
Even if it has, in the most comedic and awesome way possible, I quite liked that set piece, decimated the population of zombies in the near area, basically made the whole place safe for them.
Yeah.
He goes, no, can't do it.
Yeah, can't do it. Sorry, can't land in Regent's Park. You're gonna have to go to Wembley Stadium. I'll pick you up in the centre circle, which actually wasn't Wembley Stadium. It was the Millennium Stadium, which is in bloody Cardiff.
Oof.
Well, you know what? Shall we check on the? Well, one thing quickly is I'm going to point out. I've got to do this. It doesn't really add much to the analysis, but I've got to throw it in. the death by helicopter is possibly a bit of an homage, a bit of a one-upping of a famous death in Dawn of the Dead, which is comically goofy.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
I've got to admit, this was an
lawnmower
awesome scene.
helicopter scene with all its bad CGI is one of the worst scenes in the film. It's in one of the worst scenes in the entire series. I couldn't believe how bad the CGI was.
Wait, in this one?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm
thought this was
afraid
great.
I ate this up, Murgoot.
Yeah.
The guy film jumped the shark, and I was all for it.
The guy flying the helicopter, what's his name?
Harold Perrineau. I'm sure we all remember him from Lost, and of course, I'm getting nervous now in case it's not him. Is it a different black actor? I'll risk it. Mercutio. Is it him, Mercutio from
no idea.
Leonardo DiCaprio? What, you don't know your Leonardo
Harold
DiCaprio
Perrineau.
Romeo?
Yeah, not huge, I'm afraid.
Playing
But I know he was,
Yes, he was.
in another zombie flick. This wasn't his only one. He would years later turn up in Z Nation.
That's where I recognise him. My missus watched that.
Yeah, that's bloody good. That is. It's like
that's fun.
yeah, it's like the Walking Dead.
George R.R. Martin shows up as a zombie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
George R.R.
Z
Martin
Nation
shows up as a zombie.
Yeah, I think it's on. It used to be on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but I know it's on one of the.
Z Nation started on Sci-Fi Network.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think it's either on Prime or it's on. It might even be on Plex actually. Free to watch, but yeah, I recommend it. It's proper goofy. It knows what it is, and it's not afraid to push the boat out on its own insanity, which is pretty good. It's like you think GTA. It's like the Saints Row of zombie flicks.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. To put it in perspective, PH, the George R.R. Martin cameo, if I'm remembering correctly, he's been zombified, but they've got him tied up. They've got him chained up to a chair and table at some convention, signing books.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
That's a bit genius.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
anyway, should we get back to the plot?
Oh yeah, the plot. Well, yeah. What happens in this stage in the quest?
Yeah, so having the door unlocked, almost like they were intending. Like when I told one of my colleagues I was going to watch this film, he told me, "Oh yeah, this is the film where the Americans round up all of the English and ethnically cleanse them." And it really,
wow,
it really did kind of feel like they were doing that by just rounding them up and leaving them to fend for themselves with a zombie. Yeah, they all get infected. The kids manage to escape. Their dad's after them. The NATO forces lose complete control of the situation. Idris Elba says, "Open fire on any and all people who are trying to escape from the building because you cannot be certain that none of them are infected."
Yeah,
so they just start murdering
moves.
Now I think about it, your mate might have had a point actually.
Yeah, so it's just Idris Elba commanding Americans to indiscriminately murder British people. Which they do. Most of them do, like gleefully. Jeremy Renner has a bit of a hurty tummy about it. So he decides he decides that he's going to be a handsome action hero along with Rose Byrne and protect the kids and try and help the few survivors who haven't been murdered by NATO yet to get out of the area, which NATO has again decided they are just going to bomb. They do.
Carpet bomb and then release nerve gas, which is more of a threat to normal people than it is to the Ragers, because the Ragers have adrenaline perpetually coursing through their veins.
True.
But yeah, so basically they just from that point onwards, right? It's a linear video game adventure where they're trying to get to the helicopter because his friend has also decided that he has a bit of a conscience and at least wants to help Jeremy Renner get out of there. So they try and get to the helicopter. They fail. They try and get to and they continue trying to get to the helicopter. And this is where a lot of the film just kind of blurs together for me. They're just kind of walking through grey streets for a while, trying to avoid being shot by NATO, until they get to a car that Jeremy Renner has to point to try to push started so that Rose would escape. At which point, a bunch of soldiers walking through the gas with flamethrowers see very clearly a non-infected man trying to push a car to get it started, to get out of the area, and they think, burn him. So they burn him.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Renner's it did annoy
me. If he's starting the car, why doesn't he have the front door open on the driver's side so he can leap in and kick it over once it's rolling fast enough?
So if you believe, if you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the multiverse, basically Jeremy Renner started this film off as Hawkeye, but he ended it as the Human Torch.
Oh, terrible.
It did annoy me how little the soldiers on the ground exercised individual judgment. I know that they're just following orders. And the whole point of the film is supposed to be see how the horrors of war and occupation turn people against one another indiscriminately. Even those on the same side aren't safe. But it did annoy me that the guy was clearly not infected. He was sentient. He was trying to help people. Like the Ragers, we know what they do. They scream and run at you. They scream very silently most of the time until they're right next to your face, at which point they switch stealth mode off, and then you can hear them. Same as the first film. But they just see this guy who's clearly not infected and go, and kill him.
Harry, come on. You know how this works. Only one character gets to turn their back on their nation and be the hero. The rest of them are drones. That's how this works in screenwriter land.
True.
Yeah.
True. We can't show more than one soldier be a good person and they have to die, same as the first film.
Daniel Hall with the excellent comment. It's obvious this movie was made right before internet fandom was a full thing and could bust chops spotting tropes. Yeah. I really felt that for the first one more than anything, to be honest, Daniel. It was like, I love that film. I still like it. I watched it so many times when I was a teenager, maybe like early 20s, and then I honestly hadn't seen it for more than a decade, probably 2. I am ancient. And it's just coming back to it after a few years of detailed movie criticism. I was like, oh my God, I can't unsee it. And this has got its own things, but I wouldn't say it's as bad as the first.
It's still got a lot of problems to push the plot forward. But
absolutely, it's got some egregious ones.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I think it's as bad as the first one. Although to be fair, it has that buffer zone. It has that buffer zone of first 40 minutes before the infection breaks out again, where there aren't really too many problems, and then only once the infection breaks out that you see them having to make contrivance after contrivance to keep the plot moving forward.
Yeah.
I have several points from the beginning.
Oh, rock on, Murgoot.
1, they get into the boat and he accidentally kicks him out of the boat. The 5 horsepower motor would have absolutely crapped itself when it blended his buddy. 2, even a 5 horsepower outboard motor is loud as hell. Trust me, I've sat in enough fishing boats with trolling motors and they have a high-pitched whine. And a 5 to 10 horsepower outboard motor is louder than a goddamn lawnmower.
Murgoot, do you think maybe like the death by
it was
small boat motor, do you think that was maybe a tribute? I mean, the logic is separate to this, but do you think it was maybe a cheeky tribute to I Spit on Your Grave, the original?
I don't know. It may have been, but it bugged me to hell and back. I can understand the silent scene where Dawn is going down the river and everything goes silent and he starts freaking out.
To
but
be
that
fair,
just-
Murgoot, to be fair, it is working within the rules set by this universe, which is that unless something is right next to you, it's completely silent.
But they're showing him holding the outboard motor. And if it's an electric motor, which would be much quieter, why the hell did it have a pull crank on it?
Now, this is a level of pedantry
I love
not
this.
seen in a while. This is great.
I am here for this. Keep going.
Okay. The kids busting out. 3 of the snipers seen them and comment on the dogs know the puppies breaking out. Why the hell didn't they radio the gate guards at the end of the peninsula? And why weren't everybody who retrieved them from the house wearing mop gear? Some of them were, not all of them. Why weren't they all? Because it was standard issue in Iraq at that time, and it was also standard in outbreak zones.
How about this?
2, about that house.
Okay.
Why is every room in the house spotless with no dust until they get upstairs and find mommy in a trashed out bedroom? Why was there no dust, no blood, no dirt in the kitchen?
Mate, she's still going to do some house cleaning.
Yeah, you
She's
can't get
still
rid of the old
filthy.
instincts.
There should have been grease marks or dirt. I'm just, why isn't there 6 months of dust in the bloody house?
I don't mind as much with that kind of stuff, although it would have set a better atmosphere when they got in there. It would have helped for the melancholy.
Okay. The next point is Idris Elba and Scarlett, whatever the actress's name is, when they're arguing. Why did he immediately dismiss her instead of taking the head medical's advice right off the bat and stew on it? Why did he immediately countermand her? That's just the trope of the arrogant military commander. Any commander worth his salt listens to his head of medical.
But she is Irish.
Even if he disagrees with her, he would have taken the time to follow the plans and adjust for advice. 2, if she finds Mother so valuable, his thought of killing her is one good idea. The other one is quarantine her and get her off the thing, get her to a level 4 lab so that they can analyze her. It's standard operating procedure for the military when they find somebody that is, yes, they're diseased, but they're abnormal. Fly her to a level 4, get her in the tank, and analyze the hell out of her, alive or dead.
How about
3,
this? When they were examining her to begin with, if they agreed that she was infected, she turned out to be. When we know that you can be infected by any kind of contact with saliva, anything, why weren't they all wearing goggles?
Ooh.
Why
weren't they wearing eye coverings, ear coverings? Same thing that we were complaining about in the first one.
Level 4 gear for outbreaks in a contained setting. They know the rage virus is immediately infective through bodily fluids. Why aren't they in full air tanks and full blue or orange gear? It's a level 4 defined. It's And then Dawn, Carlisle's character. We've already gone over this somewhat. It's mutated, but how does he show patience? I mean, I could see him pushing the badge on it and ripping the door off and go running into the night. How is he so patient? How does he have stalking behavior? How does he know how to hide from just something entirely oblivious?
And again, what we're talking about when we talk about Don as a zombie, how much more intelligent he seems to be in some scenes, I see that as a major missed opportunity. And again, could have been really good connective tissue for what the zombies are like in the third film, because it would have been a very interesting development to have some explanation of the mutation, the development of zombies, how they're becoming slightly more sentient. And again, with the theme that this film is playing with, this idea of occupation, war, othering people so that you can kill them indiscriminately, it would have actually played well with that theme if there was the idea introduced of the zombies being more than mindless killers.
Yeah, I mean, you can infer. We are inferring it, I think, perhaps to be generous to make sense of it, because Don sort of has to be able to follow the children absolutely improbably, because, that's the payoff.
My other problem is, after working at a medical database company for years, how would something as simple as heterochromia be a sign of resistance? What is there behind it? And yes, I'm being pedantic because heterochromia, 2 different colored eyes. I mean, it's David Bowie could have been planted in this movie before he died and let him roam around as a half zombie.
But Bowie didn't have different colored eyes, actually.
I was going to go there. This is a pub quiz special. Go on, Harry.
Yes, due to a fight that he got into in secondary school, it wasn't that his eyes are different colors, it's that one of his pupils was permanently dilated after he took a knock to the head. So it appears like his eyes are different colors when actually they were both blue.
Okay, did not know that.
Don't
Thank
look,
you.
Murgy, we love pedantry on this channel. I am giving you bonus points for complaints about a specific motor on a boat. I love it.
That's what we're all about here.
But I will get in on that and just say, like, the heterochromia, my very reachy reading of this is that is just a symbol for different perspectives. Like, 2 different eyes are 2 different ways of seeing the world, or maybe seeing a particular person. So it's a symbol. It's movie symbol language rather than.
She's half in the human world, half in the Rager world. Yeah, I can see that.
And again, that a nice idea to play with if they hadn't just killed her off immediately. It felt like, I don't know, maybe the actress just had other commitments that meant she couldn't do a full film or something.
It's a waste of a great actress.
It's a waste of a good actress, and it's a waste of everything that they set up in that first third of the film.
I wonder how many scripts there were for this, and with 4 different primary script writers, how many different ideas got blended together rather than just one coherent thought.
Yeah, because if it is true that Danny Boyle directed that opening scene of the film, it feels like he was setting up a very different film from what was made afterwards.
Yeah. Murgoot, did you have more things you noticed? Because I think
the helicopter scene, dear God. I'm between the CGI.
I assume if that happened in real life, the helicopter would have just fallen and broken, right?
It's those carbon fiber with titanium reinforcement blades would have snapped right off the bat. It's doing something like that. the rotor blades would have snapped at the tips, and when he hit the biggest patch of ragers, the Jesus nut would have popped off, and he would have been face first into the ground. But
Murgoot, I'm going to counter that with: have you seen Mission Impossible?
Another David Schneider appearance.
Yeah.
Yes. Are we in the
It
second
is.
Schneider verse?
No. Release the Schneider cut.
With
the
this
pilot of
helicopter
the
scene-
helicopter, I mean, the first clip, the first jump scare clip, all I could think about was the limousine driver in Die Hard, where he's bouncing around in the cab of the limousine, jiving off to the music, and then switching to the news station and realizing he's in trouble. And that's the jump scare there. And then when the criminals come out, he freaks out and emergency backs out. That's all like the setup of that scene was just like the valet, the limousine driver in Die Hard. That's all I could think of.
With a lot of the setup scenes earlier on, introducing you to the soldiers, particularly that little jump scare scene, it felt like it came straight from a Hollywood template. It was a little template that says how to create endearing characters in 5 minutes or less.
He has a wife and child. You like
very,
him?
very TV trope worthy, yes.
Oh yeah, but with this helicopter scene, confused me was that he angles the blades, eviscerates all of these zombies, and the guy who's been hanging on to the helicopter trying to climb on board gets absolutely covered. He splattered head to toe in their blood. And I was expecting, because I thought, okay, here the stakes. If there's no more helicopter, then they won't be able to get out, and they're going to have to find some different, more inventive way of getting themselves out of the situation. I was expecting the guy, because he's covered in blood. How did none of it get in his eyes? How did none of it go in his mouth? Him to turn, him to be a zombie, climb on, bite the helicopter pilot. Helicopter crashes. They have to find some other way out. No, he's just fine. He's just fine, and then he falls, and then the helicopter flies off. It felt like such an anticlimax to what should have happened, because the helicopter failing, crashing, exploding would have been just the cherry on top to the absolute schlock that was this scene.
Yeah, exactly. And then the final scene in the stadium, it's just, no, he didn't survive, and fade to black, and I'm like, okay,
Please
never
don't pay
mind.
attention to the huge bite mark on my brother's neck.
Yeah, it's that, and the final scene where the refugees manage to get to France and cause an outbreak. It's like, what the hell are you doing? If you're nerve gassing London, why aren't you nerve gassing or firebombing?
Well,
I
assume this was the start of the outbreak.
Yeah, I'm going to say, yeah.
Assume that this has been going on for anything more than at least a few hours by this point.
Yeah, and
trust me, if there's one thing we know that NATO is absolutely chomping at the bit to do, it's to firebomb historic European cities, as the Americans are known to do.
Hell yeah. Team America style.
When I saw the end of this, I was like, God damn it, Andy, what have you done?
Who was making out with Andy? Don't take him to France. Jesus, they can't resist it.
Oh,
Belgium's out too. I'm sorry.
Just to fill in the context for everybody, because we've skipped a bit of the plot through the detours. So after Jeremy Renner dies, they go into the subway. Roseburn gets killed by Don, who then gets killed by his daughter as he's mauling Andy, who it turns out also has the same kind of immunity that his mother had, but still means that he's a carrier. His sister thinks this is fine, takes him to the helicopter, they leave and infect France. Does this have any bearing on the third film? No.
I was going to say, I mean, I've done my best to avoid spoilers where possible, but I've heard that the things that happen in this film are
completely ignored.
Yeah.
Well, they're completely. I haven't seen it yet, but everything I've seen agrees with you that the retcon is total. It's some escape, but they're killed in Calais and Brittany.
Is how do you make a follow-up to the end of this film without it just turning into World War Z? You can't.
True.
It just, unless they've managed to push it back off of the continent, then the rest of the film is massive, fast rage zombie outbreak slowly takes over the world. That's it. And Danny Boyle clearly wanted to go in a different direction, and I get the feeling that he wishes that this film had built on the idea of the mutating infection more, because he really pushes it way further in the third one. To the point where, if you didn't know that they were set in the same universe, 28 years later feels very different from both of these films. It feels... You can tell that it's setting up its own trilogy, and I feel like it's only name recognition and the fact that Danny Boyle directed the first one that's turned it into a 28 years later film. Although apparently Cillian Murphy's coming back for this Nia DaCosta sequel.
Oh, Cillian, no. Don't do it, bro. That's very American.
Maybe waving a free Palestine flag.
Isn't
I suppose
Cillian
it's
Murphy
very
a
American.
rage zombie in the first trailer?
No.
No, that's just that was very well done bait.
It's just an emaciated zombie that looks a bit like Cillian Murphy, and everybody assumed that it was, which must have felt great for him.
It was a genius move though, because it got everyone speculating.
That's right. Yeah. I think it was confirmed before the film came out that it wasn't going to be anyway. Hence why
Daniel Hall, how are the Rage even still alive? That
it's a great question. It's a great question.
Don't ask that. Again, it could have made sense through this film's plot, but this film decided not to do it.
Yeah.
This film decided to tell Iraq War the zombie movie.
Yeah, I mean, is there much to... I had a few areas I thought would be good to discuss, and the Iraq War is an obvious one. But I don't know how deep it is.
Again, there's lots of themes the film could have explored, but it doesn't. It's weird how it has, again, probably through many script drafts of ideas getting picked up and then put aside and left in the script. A lot of it's probably artifacts of earlier drafts, but it picks up so many ideas, sets them aside, and goes nowhere with them. So it feels like there's this big tangle of themes and plot threads that should coalesce to something greater, but don't. As such, the only real theme that goes through this film that's consistent is this kind of ham-fisted Iraq War allegory of the idea of an American occupation where it all goes wrong and the soldiers begin to indiscriminately fire on innocent people and each other, because in the chaos of warfare, in the chaos of othering, I'm sure that was one of the themes that they wanted to do. It's difficult to tell who is friend and who is foe. That's the only real consistent thing that runs through this, other than maybe a Sins of the Father theme. But even that's not really expanded on much because of the way that Don's character just cuts off 40 minutes into the film once he's infected. He's just not Don anymore.
Yeah. On the Iraq thing, we also... Sorry, TCG. Just like on the Iraq thing, there's one thing that was killing me on that analogy. There are bits I don't mind, actually. I kind of like. But one thing, if you're going for a kind of maybe typical boomer English European perspective on, it was so super bungled It's like, well, you had the team that go in to rescue Alice, to rescue, you know, Don's wife, when and bring her back to the lab, but that team very specifically weren't gung-ho, weren't gun-happy. So they were very discriminating in that instance. And then outside of that, they go back to kind of, you know, stereotypical American shoot everyone soldiers. It's a little convenient. You know, like if they were all like classic Iraq war, we shoot anything that moves, and well, Don's wife is done and the movie doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's. I could, if they would have put it in like what happened in Iraq, where it's conflicting rules of engagement, I could have understood. But not even talking about that and just being very contained, very quiet about things, and then just going to firebombing right after that. I'm just like, why didn't they explain that? It would have taken an act of NATO and an act of the U.S. Congress to say, okay, weapons free. I mean, they could have at least mentioned that. And it's.
I mean, even just the idea that the whole operation is done in 28 weeks is a very flattering idea of NATO efficiency. Wolf,
even getting
AA
Isle of Dogs and Canary Wharf cleaned in 28 weeks is just beyond me.
True. OS Wolf just asking AA, who's that? Well, for Zoomers, AA is Alcoholics Anonymous. It's an organization that tries to help people with alcohol addiction. I hope that helped. Addictions, I mean, it could be for anything. They're like alcohol, Welsh malted butter.
Wait, wasn't AA? No, sorry,
Manager.
Wasn't AA like the Twitch blood sports debate bro who got divorced by that Swedish girl cheating on him a few years ago?
Oh, sounds about right. Yeah.
He was like in an open relationship, and now he does charity boxing with some Arab girl.
Wait, is that the guy who was on the Whatever podcast with said girlfriend, and John Doyle was in that episode, and he was like, I don't know why you say everything's going to go to crap with my relationship. It's going fine so far. It'll look really awkward in a couple of years if we're not. But that guy.
Yeah, that's that same podcast where there was that hooker who's now a Christian and gets to go on Turning Point speeches.
Interesting how that happens.
I hope that has cleared up that question for you.
Well, you're both wrong.
There you go, OS Wolf. Glad to help.
You're both wrong, because to me, he will always be an inferior rapper.
Oh no, you're thinking of Sly Sneak, completely different person.
That's like saying the teabag who laughs is a completely different person, Horror Show. Come on.
Wait, didn't AA used to do This Week in Stupid?
I think so.
Yeah, that sounds.
Didn't he do Meme Review as well?
yeah, and he was on CS:GO one time and said a bad word on the bridge.
That's right. I think isn't his friend Ian Hecox? Well, he was in Smosh, wasn't he? That's what the A stands for. Anthony, of course.
This is possibly the most millennial conversation I've ever been involved in.
Yes,
Zuma, damn it!
You're lost in our millennial waters.
Zuma year. It's not 97.
You already confessed last week that Gen Alpha bully you.
To be fair, I mean, of course they do. I'm nearing 30 now, so you know it's the natural way of life for young whippersnappers to make fun of me for aging grey hair and wrinkles
and your skibbity dress habits. There we go.
Let's move on.
Let's move on indeed.
Daniel,
well, you brought up the idea of Revenge of the Father, Return of the Father. I thought was one of the ideas that's in the soup, and I think we've all said like this idea of poor screenwriters maybe doesn't make the most coherent film. And
We also
that,
learned with the first one that one screenwriter doesn't necessarily make a coherent film either.
I mean, it was his second script. Of course, the answer to that is probably maybe assign someone who's a little more veteran to check it over. But hey, I thought I'd get you this lovely image from Andy's dream, because I quite liked this. I thought this looked a bit good. As maybe a bridge to our discussion of actually,
Face Off.
Yeah, revenging father event sort of thing, the corruption. I mean, I'll get to it. So I quibbled when you said that Don squishing the eyeballs, going full Gloucester on his wife was a callback. I mean, it is a callback. It absolutely is a callback. But I thought in that one it was quite pointed, because Don's whole conflict is like his horrible guilt that Alice, and I really hope that's her name because I've said that over and over on this episode. Alice saw him. Like, that's the big danger. She saw him. And if he's so ashamed of what she saw, even though I think we could probably debate whether he actually did anything wrong at all there. He saw her. So when he squishes her eyes, what he's basically doing is erasing the evidence symbolically, right? And I think the heterochromia is hitting at that idea of being able to see one person two different ways. So not basically, see Don in one form as like the loving husband, but seeing him the other way as like the one who betrayed her. I've said quite a lot there, so I'll throw that open to the panel.
I quite like that. It makes sense, and it actually draws a bit of thematic continuity through the rest of the film as well.
Chores.
Yeah, so I think you have done a little bit of something to improve at least a small part of the film. I still think they could have gone way further with it.
Thank you. Oh, well, cheers. I like that. You know, that's autistic read is my thing, but I liked that take. I'm still not gonna say that absolutely saves the film, because you very rightly said that it kind of goes nowhere. The theme is like really inchoate beyond that, and it doesn't have the big payoff that I think it deserves. Like, that is a really good conflict that could drive the movie, but it does get buried, and Don does become this.
Well, it gets, and it's not just that it gets buried. It gets buried in a bog standard go from A to B plot. Go from A to B. Oh, B is not safe. Quick, go to C instead. That's what the second half of the film turns into, and it's very disappointing because the first half, I was thinking to myself before Don turns, I was thinking, okay, they're setting up a lot of threads here that could go in lots of different places. And I was aware that this film was not particularly well received compared with the first one. And I was getting this feeling of, well, what's the problem? This seems to be going well so far. The opening scene was great and dramatic. They've set up so much good stuff. There's been a few issues here and there, like the kids being able to sneak out of the quarantine zone, which was stupid, but still, I could forgive all that because it was setting up this dramatic payoff with the wife and mother returning and everything that could go from there. And then it just switches to something completely different and much more generic, which was it was a pity.
Harry, you mentioned them getting from A to B very quickly, but
I've got you back.
Well, they wouldn't have been able to do that route in the time.
Well, yeah,
we charted up their journey. So here we go. I think you see where they start.
For anyone who's not been around London, that's a lot of London to get through.
Yeah. It's a horror show. Ignore the pin. If you look at the Greenwich Circle, so that's where they started, roughly. And they basically would have this route that they've taken here is only up to Regent's Park, and that's not alternative routes that you're seeing. That is a singular route that they've taken. So they've literally doubled back on themselves at some points. And then have you got the other one as well? So you've got 8 hours
I've
and
got the other
56,
one.
presuming,
8 hours.
and obviously this doesn't take into account the short amount of time that they are driving. And then if they were to just go straight to Wembley Stadium from the Isle of Dogs, obviously stopping at Regent's Park as per the original plan, they could have shaved about 3 hours off of their time. But instead they decided to go, as you said, full tourist mode and see the sights.
It was totally tourist mode. I mean, there was a bit of a joke, like you could bring out the autism on the first film when Jim's wandering about. I'm not really good at this. You know, I lived in London for quite a while. I could not like pin it down. Waifu was great at this. She just detected like he's on the South Bank and he's crossed to the South Bank. How has that worked? Why has he crossed over again? I'm not sharp on that. She was really good on it. But in this one, even someone as geographically bottom set as I am could work out that their journey was kind of nonsense. I'm also sort of doubting whether they actually went to Regent's Park or not. It didn't look quite right to me.
Enough with London to recognize all of this. For me, the thing that stuck out was that past a certain point, it just felt like they were going through empty grey streets that looked indistinct from one another. Murgoot, you're not in England, so did you get more of a feeling like PH and TCG did, or were you more like me, which is just this all just looks indistinct and blends together?
Half of it blended together. The other thing, most of the problem I had was it was only every third one had congested streets. It would have been better if all of them did or none of them did. It's, going great, and inconveniently had to ride through congested areas where you think maybe they'll be attacked, and then clean streets, another shot, and then they get home and it's completely clean except for mommy's room. It bugged me. I saw TCG's routing after I'd gotten to that point, and I was just laughing.
It does confirm it, yeah.
I mean, Daniel Hall has said in the chat, if I worked in post-production, I'd hate internet fan communities for all the extra work I'd have to do because of the eagle eyes out there right now. Well, that's quite interesting because a lot of productions, after the introduction of on-demand video streaming, where you can pause anytime in HD, has led to a change of production in a lot of these shows. Like, for instance, I know between Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, when they got to Better Call Saul, the production team were like, right, we're working on Netflix now. It's going to be, everyone's going to be doing, so they had to put like 10 times to characters were using in the show, purely because they knew that there were people pausing every frame to see if they could spot what was written on pieces of paper and see if they could notice any continuity problems. But the thing, do that when you add those extra details in, I think it does make the films more rewarding. And in a film like this, where most of the film is into getting from A to B, or in this case, A to D to C, back to D, and then over to C, and then finally we get to B, and then B, you need to go back to A. You know, that kind of thing. It shouldn't be that hard to just plot out a logical route for the characters to have to travel, because London's a big city and a lot of people live in London. You should be able to to follow, say, the third one, where a lot of it takes place in forest, where it's kind of indistinct from the rest of the forest. So you can play around with locations a bit more. When you're in a huge, recognizable city, there should be some continuity between where they're going.
Definitely. And it just also becomes very transparent that they were doing tourism. Like, we can't do it in Regent's Park. Well, we'll have to go to Wembley Stadium. It's like, you're just landing a small helicopter. I mean, Regent's Park is pretty big. You could go to another bit of Regent's Park. It's fine.
Harry's right about the continuation checkers. If you notice the credits, the aides to the script writers have almost tripled in the past 8 years.
And that will just be people saying, well, we need, we details. We need to make sure that this flows right. We need to make sure that this isn't out of place. And I do quite like that, because overall, I can't see how it negatively impacts the overall product. I mean, I've seen it suggested before, and I think this film would have benefited from it. Is that script writers should always have like a small child whenever they make a decision for the script, asking them why. Like, children love asking why all the time. You know, my daughter's already starting to get to the point where she's starting to ask silly questions when she can. So if the scriptwriter says, well, and then this happens, the child will say why, and the scriptwriter will have to come up with a reason that will satisfy a child other than, well, it's because the film needs it to happen.
I mean, that
although,
quote
to be fair, I wouldn't like to let Hollywood scriptwriters near too many children.
Jesus.
True.
I mean, that phrase really is like the death to a lot of plots. It's we're talking about pitch meeting a lot in this episode, but the quote of "why so the movie can happen" is like so true. Literally, I'm sorry to reuse the example, but they can't pick up in Regent's Park. Oh, well, we'll have to go to Wembley. Why not another bit of Regent's Park? Because people know Wembley, and that looks cool.
Well, the thing is, it didn't even look. If you were basing it in 2002, or even 2003, around the time of the outbreak, like Wembley wasn't even from the external. Even Wembley didn't look like that. So Wembley wasn't in operation until 2007 anyway, and I only know that because United lost to Chelsea in the FA Cup final that year, bastards. But even at the time when this film was produced, the internal side of the stadium wasn't anywhere near ready, because it would have been around 2006 time, or like, you know, late 2006, early 2007. So they were still doing construction work on the inside of it. Hence why they had to use the Millennium Stadium for the inside shot of the pitch. But when you get those beautiful looking aerial shots of Wembley Stadium, you weren't, you know, I'm pretty sure that Britain wasn't still constructing the stadium in 2002 onwards. I will have a look. Yeah, I mean, you
picked up a lot of time-based details, actually.
I mean, okay.
I mean, your time to shine. If you
want to
walk through a few of these.
I mean, they didn't demolish the old stadium until into the beginning of September 2002. Until 2002, and that was the old Twin Towers stadium. So around the time of the outbreak, it's very, very likely that the old Wembley still would have been around, and it would have been potentially that Wembley that they would have gone to, and not the one that is there now. So yeah, big oversight.
And you had a couple of others I noticed you'd picked up on in the old private chat.
Oh yeah,
if there were any others, just
not mine,
because I thought these were
not mine. They're IMDb. I was just finding them from there. But one of the things, because I watched this with my son, and I was like, oh, because he's really into football at the moment, and I knew that in the opening scenes when you see Andy come in, he's wearing a Real Madrid shirt. So I was like, oh, you know, do you recognise that team? Because it was quite an old shirt, and he's like, yeah, it's Real Madrid. Yeah, I thought nothing of it. And then as I was looking through the IMDb bits, it pointed out that the shirt he's wearing is the 06-07 season shirt, which again, you know, possible, maybe. I mean, if the outbreak didn't hit Spain, then it's entirely possible. But yeah, also they're driving an 04 Volvo, which again, I don't think Volvo were importing into the UK.
Cars from the future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think there was another one as well. Was it Charing Cross Station? Apparently, during Don and Scarlett showdown. This is what it says on IMDb. A Jubilee line train is on the platform, but the Jubilee line hasn't stopped at Charing Cross since 1999.
I mean, that's a lovely one. When they were in Charing Cross Station, which again also feels a bit like tourism, like it's London. Come on, you know the underground. You pointed out something very true. Like this is an absolute hallmark of a 2000s horror.
Oh yeah, big time. Time.
Now, obviously, we on Twitter this was already pointed out, and we're not disputing. Silence of the Lambs got there first in 1992 with to really put night vision on the general imagination. But oh gosh, I meant to look this up. Shall we do this quickly? When was Wreck released?
Was it
2007? I don't know, bro. I mean, you already had Blair Witch in 1999, but that was a black and white night vision. So yeah, this might be something else, but yeah, this is very indicative of 2000s horror, is to go into night vision for scenes.
Yeah, Wreck. Apparently Blair Witch 2 used while the first Blair Witch didn't explicitly use night vision goggles, the sequel incorporated them using the found footage style and the sense of being hunted. In Cloverfield as well, used
graveyard disturbance.
Yeah.
Rather. Sorry, no. Graveyard Disturbance is a terrible 70s. Grave Encounters, that's the one I'm thinking. That was really good fun, actually. Highly recommended found footage. Grave Encounters and Grave Encounters 2. Very good.
Devil's Pass. Paranormal Activity.
Of course. Well, Paranormal Activity was 2011, I think. But I mean, same cohort, really.
The trend may have been dying out at that time. Troll Hunter, 2010. That was.
It's absolutely.
Grave Encounters. Ugh.
Hey, there you go. Told you.
There you go. Yeah, you're right. Silence of the Lambs. The Descent, of course.
Of course. Yeah, that's 2004, I think.
Yeah.
About then. I could be wrong. I think it's got to be 2004.
I'll drop the link in the chat for
you love to see it.
Listening.
Yeah, just a small thing, just a small stylistic thing. We've got quite a blend of things in this one. Why I'm going into this is just to kind of add on to the discussion of where 28 weeks later, being an Americanized production makes things a bit more standard,
I have another complaint about the production. Just the stylistic choice that they made, which was very popular at the time after the Bourne films.
Oh,
shaky
the shakiest
cam. The shakiest shaky cam imaginable. Can you tell a thing that is going on in some of these action scenes? And it was right there from the opening scene as well. As soon as the zombies get into the house and start to kill people, I could not tell a damn thing that was going on, because whoever was holding that camera, my God, they had just drank 15 coffees and downed a handful of Adderall because they had no control over themselves.
Are you referring to the opening scene? Sorry, I was.
Yes, the opening scene and the other action scenes.
You see, I didn't mind the opening scene because it felt very reminiscent of 28 Days Later in terms of that sort of camera style, because I felt like that was kind of it was kind of matching the energy like from that first one.
With the improved picture quality of using HD cameras for this one, rather than the very fuzzy digital cameras in the first film, it feels different when it's used. And because you can make out so much detail otherwise, I found it very disorienting when they used the shaky cam in this one.
Do you reckon that's why they went back to use they used iPhones to film the third one? 28 years.
Did they
Maybe.
really?
Yeah, they used iPhones. The
Really?
latest iPhone, yeah. I'll see if we can find a picture for you so you can pull it up. I mean,
Yeah, please do.
it's on a massive like unit, but yeah, it's literally the iPhone. I'll see if we can find it.
That's very impressive because I thought the third one was easily the best looking of the three films. It's got some gorgeous shots in it.
I mean, just on this, Harry, I think it could probably be say like they're all shaky, but maybe this is where shaky cam just went a bit too far. Like, hey, we can do this thing. You can, but you don't have to do it that much.
Yeah, because again, it was kind of after the Bourne films, especially, that it really took off that style of filmmaking where it was used to present things with a lot of kinetic energy to make it look a bit more dynamic and exciting. But there was a way to do it properly that not many films could pull off.
I agree. The origination of, well, one of the original points of shaky cam was Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and then the use in Brain Dead. I mean, Peter Jackson was one of the creators of the shaky cam, and it was much better done in the 80s and 90s than this. Although I do have to say Boyle's opening scene held together much better than all the other scenes put together, and you can tell the change of the director.
It probably did help that in the opening scene, it felt like it was lit much more deliberately as well, whereas later scenes just felt very grey and as though they didn't have very much contrast. Whereas this opening scene felt as though the colour choices, especially with a lot of the candlelit rooms and then the sunbeams coming in through the windows as the boards were being broken down, it felt much more deliberate and well crafted. But again, it seems that comes from Danny Boyle. Whatever I do think of most of his films, being an artistically minded filmmaker.
Yeah. Well, the later scenes, especially the outbreak scene and some of the other ones, they washed it too much high contrast, too much washing of the background. I mean, they were trying to, I could get what they were trying to show, but it's typical Hollywood late 2000s where everything is just washed out. And like you said, gray. It's a cheap way of doing it.
Yes, and a quick sidetrack. In the chat, Jay Pankser says, gives a shout out to the film Dog Soldiers. I will also give a big shout out to that film. It's great. You should watch it if you haven't.
Oh, yeah.
We do love anything, pretty much anything from Neil Marshall. Pretty much he's very
Director of some of the best Game of Thrones episodes as well. He directed the Battle of the Blackwater.
He did indeed. Yeah, they'd bring him back for those big ones. I think whichever one was the Assault on the Wall, that was him as well. He just has a reputation for being able to do a lot on a very small budget.
And again, as well, speaking of lighting, those were shot at the point in the show Game of Thrones when they had not forgotten how to light scenes set at night.
You note that I'm correct me if I'm wrong, folks. Was this the only scene in the movie where they brought out the excellent "In a House in a Heartbeat"? Or did it come back in later?
They used it quite a few times in this film. They used it at least 3 times.
Oh, then I'm an absolute
I would say in the same way that they seemed... Obviously, you can tie it in thematically with the eye gouging, but in the same way, the eye gouging seemed to me to be a very deliberate callback to the film, to the first one that maybe went a little bit too far. In this one, they also overuse In a House in a Heartbeat, because they use it at least 3 times in the film, which felt like it was overkill because, hey, everybody really liked the tension that one built, right? So let's just keep doing it, and we'll keep getting the same effect over and over again.
That's just my poor memory, but yeah, I guess it clearly must have shown up multiple times. I only remembered it in that epic opening, and I'd kind of filtered it out of all the others. My weird memory is when it shows up in Kick-Ass, with, of course, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who is in 28 Years Later. I've just got some of these images of it being filmed. Sorry, 28 Years Later being filmed on an iPhone, and I'm just making sure there are no massive dongs in it.
Just so you know, while you're doing that, I've sent you a few images on. There you go.
There's the one. Risky. This, I mean, this is a bit of a spoiler for you, TCG, just for one weird little editing thing that turns up in the early movie and then seems to drop later. I'm sure we can discuss next week. But there's a specific shooting style that they don't stick with throughout the whole movie.
Right.
Yeah, when you watch it, you'll notice the film is very clearly segmented into thirds.
Gotcha.
And each third has a very distinctive feel and style to it as well. But that's really impressive that they shot those particular bits using iPhones as well, because I thought the film looked fantastic.
Yeah, it just reminded me because there's a film on Prime at the moment which stars Stormzy in it, and like this, it's all shot on an iPhone as well.
That's interesting. I've got an iPhone 15, and now I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, what's my excuse?
What is it? Pro Max.
It is.
That's what they used. I'm
just looking at it and just thinking, like, well, I have no excuse not to go out and make my masterpiece now.
Yeah.
Literally, you can film huge, big budget films on it. So I guess I have to go and do that now.
Swindon's devastated enough. You could film your own sequel to
PH. If you want to start submitting script drafts to me, we can get started on pre-production.
Although, sorry, 2002. What was the? Oh yeah, okay, we go. So, actually, if we wanted to be time accurate, the Nokia phones were quite popular in 2002, so they could have shot it on a 6100 or even a 3410, 3510 models, because the iPhone 15 Pro Max didn't exist in 2002.
You don't have to use period accurate technology to film the bloody thing, TCG.
Could you imagine if they did? I mean, how the hell would they do Victorian dramas?
Feisty little daguerreotypes.
We wanted to be as accurate as possible with making this film, so we couldn't make it because we didn't have the technology.
You would be handed little notebooks that have drawings that, when you flip the pages, make motion for you. That's what you would get.
Yeah, that's it.
And you would have to have a piano player behind you at all times doing the soundtrack.
Very true. Yeah.
Folks, I went onto Rotten Tomatoes to check how this was doing, because I think the general perception of this one is a fair bit below the first. Rotten Tomatoes has 87% fresh for critics, 85% for the audience for 28 Days Later. Our poor 28 Weeks Later is languishing at 73% for critics, 66% for the audience. Is that fair? What do you reckon, TCG? Is that a fair drop there from 85 to 66?
This got 66. Yes and no. Because, again, like the first one, this isn't a bad film, but I think there could have been a better film in this if they had focused on the family aspect of the movie, as opposed to just making it like I said earlier, like a linear story where they just have to get to the end of the level.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
the
could have
family thing is not
easily been
resolved
better than the first.
at all.
You think this is better than first?
No, it could have been.
Oh, it could have been. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it could have been. Absolutely. I think, and as I
All
say,
the
if they
setup
had that
was there.
family aspect, yeah, exactly. I think if they honed in on that family aspect, and that, you know, and really capitalized on that dilemma that Don had at the opening film, of the opening, yeah, and utilized that for the rest of the story, yeah, I think you could have had this could have been the T2 to of the 28 days saga, if you will.
Can I risk something absolutely stupid? This
on,
might sound awful. It just sort of occurs to me, and I'm ready to be booed on this one. That dilemma that Don has is he doesn't know whether to intervene. Like, there's someone he cares about who's being attacked, but he doesn't know whether he can actually intervene or not. And he doesn't. And that's sort of contrasted with, say, the Iraq War commentary, where an outside force does intervene in a situation where it's not sure it can do as much good. Do you think there is a useful contrast there that could have been played on or could have been drawn out? Did that make sense, or
The
did I
family
massively ramble?
dynamic should have been used thoroughly.
Hmm.
Either that, or they should have blended it and shown the shift over once containment was broken. They could have gone with the combined response of, instead of Idris Elba just disappearing from the screen, it's what do we do? Him calling into superiors saying, what can I do? And then setting the rules of engagement. But it was just a mess from the beginning on the military side. I mean, I have so much to say, and my throat is so sore that I can't even say it. I mean, so much was wrong on the military side.
Oh, bless you.
But
do you think there's like any thematic thing that could have been drawn out there between intervention, non-intervention, if this is meant to be like an Iraq commentary, which it most definitely is?
Well, in Iraq, they never went full weapons free. They didn't use carpet bombing. They didn't use nerve gas. But they wanted to attitude that the director seemed to have. I was just like, no. Even as faulty as it was, the plan was nation building, democracy building, rather than take off, nuke the site from orbit. They never would have done that. But they love showing the Doctor Strangelove, the bomb solves all kind of mentality for the military.
True. You also referenced something that I just wanted to check. We both seem to recall that Idris Elba just sort of disappears from the movie. Like, does anything actually? Do we find out what happens, or is he just gone?
He just vanishes.
Yeah.
What was the last thing I remember him doing? Is ordering the carpet bombing. And does he show up after that?
No.
Is there
I don't
any
think he
line
does.
of dialogue to address where he's gone?
I'm gonna have to. All right. More investigation. What happens to Stone in 28 weeks later?
Let's try and find out. Help us out, Grok.
Okay, right. So the fate of Stone. Hang on a sec. The fate of Stone and his fellow command staff is not shown on screen, but it is strongly implied that their bunker, located outside of District 1, is overrun with infected before they are able to escape.
Where's it strongly implied? Where is that strongly
where?
implied? Anywhere in the film?
It's not.
Give your boy an action scene at least. Come on.
I know.
Yeah, they made it up. They made it up.
Because of the implication.
Yeah. He goes to Dick Cheney's house.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
should have
there
shown
we
it
go.
rather than implied it.
I mean, if they
Oh,
wanted,
yeah.
Harry, were you aware of Big Driss?
no.
Do you know what? I only found out about this the other day.
I'm
To be
going
fair,
to Google this. Big Driss.
Go straight to the Google image search. I'm kidding. It's fine. It's fine. It's yeah. I knew this from the Wire days. This Idris Elba was a DJ, and he used
that
the name
makes sense.
Big Driss.
He looks the part doing it. I'm sure he was a pretty good DJ as well, to be
Yeah.
honest.
it was
I
pretty
think
good.
it's cool.
Yeah,
Good on
I'm
him.
looking
Yeah.
at that and going like, I bet I'd have fun.
Yeah.
You know, Idris Elba, he seems like a pretty decent guy, so nothing against him there. No, what I was going to say is if they wanted to really go with the go further with the Iraq analogy, and again, it's like this film's an hour and 40 minutes. It's 20 minutes shorter than the first one. They had wiggle room to add more into the film to flesh all this out. They should have shown a scene near the end. One, they should have shown him escape. And then two, they should have shown him being awarded a medal for exemplary service. Maybe even getting a promotion of some kind, showing
Ooh.
that incompetence is rewarded in these situations. Or, as we would probably argue, making the right decision given the circumstances. But again, there would be some moral ambiguity to it that would lead to audiences talking. I think there's a reason that most people don't really talk about this film, and it's not just because of the fact that the scenes in it aren't as the visuals and scenes aren't as iconic as the first one. It doesn't really give you much to chew on, where it could have. Again, it could have. Maybe this is one of those times where we always complain about remake culture, and one of the problems that I have with many people share is that people keep remaking things that were already good, where it actually
Oh my god. The Running Man is a prime example of that one. That's being remade.
Oh, I've seen it's Edgar Wright as well. So at the very least, Edgar Wright's got a style.
It's also much closer to the short story rather than the Richard Dawson, Arnold Schwarzenegger game show type thing.
Although I'm not happy with it because
I'm not happy with the trailer either because
Yeah.
the comedy seems very, very, very forced.
Yeah.
I talked about
Edgar
it a
Wright
bit.
made his name in Spaced and the Cornetto trilogy, and I feel like he feels like now he has to always expect wacky, zany, comedy into his productions. When he can just be a serious filmmaker. The most recent film I remember from him, the horror film, was a mostly serious production. He doesn't need to keep injecting like wacky and, frankly, by this new trailer, Marvel humor into his films.
No.
But what I was saying was like I think that this would actually be a good candidate for remaking a film because if you could get if you could even get Danny Boyle to sign on to it, I would like to see what plot threads which are established in this film and actually elaborate on them and make it better connective between the first and third films. Be so much that you could do with it that just doesn't get done.
How about the proposed, planned, but lost in development hell 28 months later?
I
Filming
was
that
wondering why
as
they
the
didn't
film.
do that first. So
It
was
just
that
got
just?
lost in development hell,
Oh, okay.
basically. Yeah. But you could fill that in and try and bridge the gap. Could happen. Could happen. I have a little time pressure, and I'm sorry to sort of ease the stream to a close, but I have a little sort of chicken-induced time pressure. As long-time listeners know, I have a flock of chickens. They need a little bit of attention at the moment, so I'll have to move us towards a close. And if I could, I'll move us towards a close if that's okay, and get you to focus on your closing thoughts and scores. And of course, chat, I'll be interested in seeing your closing scores as well. unless anyone is has something absolutely, you're desperate to bring it to the discussion. Dead air.
Yeah, no, I'm happy just to very quickly give you I think
Lead us off, TCG. Go on.
Yeah, I like this. I like this film. Again, like last week, there's a few issues that need address that are right to sort of pick up on and rightly criticize. But overall, I think that this is a solid sequel. But it could have been a lot. I think if it took a different direction, it could have potentially been a lot better, especially with what it was opening up with and what it was potentially like spoon feeding you at the beginning. This is what this film is going to be about, and then it sort of takes away that spoon and says, "Yeah, no more. We're gonna give you a straw, and you're gonna try and suck out that porridge, young man." Don having access to all areas of the facility doesn't make sense. It's very silly. Anyone who is familiar with London knows that the route that they took was absolutely counterproductive to their goals. Jeremy Renner, I'm sorry, I know it was before, but he literally played Hawkeye in this film. The only thing that was different was the fact that he was holding a rifle and not a bow and arrow. But a great character nonetheless. But I feel like they wasted Robert Doyle a little bit as well. Don't get me wrong, he was great as an Infected, but as I say, if they went down that family, Robert Carlyle, sorry, beg your pardon. Great, thank you. If I think if they kept him in the film alive for a bit longer and sort of went down that sort of family route, I think I just wonder what could have been. But yeah, I do. But that being said, I do like the film. Action scenes were great. So again, that night vision use, I thought was used quite well. 7 burgers out of 12. It's going to score slightly low because I do prefer 28 Days Later, if I'm completely honest.
That's fair enough.
But it is a 7, just purely on that basis. Plenty of ketchup. Like it's all over the plate. It's just an absolute mess of ketchup. There you go.
Well, 7 is definitely, it's over the line. It's not disavowed. It's a do watch. How about yourself, Murgoot? We have your closing thoughts and scores if your throat has survived.
Oh, I'm okay to give this. The intro scene I thought was brilliant. It sucked me in, and then the technical details and nitpicks started kicking in, especially at the river. Giving Don full access as a refugee was retarded.
Confirmed, refugees should have no access. Thank you.
As much as the military compartmentalizes, it's said refugee would have been planted, and yeah, he may have given direction to be a floor leader or something like that, but not full access to the ritzier part of London. That was just stupid. The whole everything is cleaned in 6 months. All the discrepancies, all the discontinuities. The CGI was awful in the end part. The whole chase scene at the end was just, it was Hollywood glam stupidity rather than well thought out. Overall, I give it a 6 with a lot of ketchup splatter. Somebody opened the cap and started hitting the base and splattered everybody around them, especially in the last third of the film. And just somebody doesn't know and absolutely hates the military because the kids escaping either would have been shot or taken in at the bottleneck of the Isle of Dogs Peninsula. They would have been caught by guys in mop gear flat out. As well staffed as they were, they would have been caught. Kids are stupid. Even smart kids are stupid. Trust me on that. I have to give it a 6 with ketchup. Thank God there weren't any big pickles running around in this one.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you reckon
That's for next
Danny
week.
Boyle was in that meeting being like, guys, could you just one dong, please?
Just one. Robert Carlyle, I'm sure he's up for it. Just ask him. I'll ask him for you.
Please, come on. Juan Carlos Frenadillo, from me to you, could we have one throbber in there, in close-up? Just one. No, Danny.
Wow.
I'm so sorry, senor. Sorry.
Okay. Harry?
We gone 7, 6. How about you, Harry?
All right. So this is a bit difficult film to talk about because it doesn't inspire any great feelings within me other than disappointment. When you start a film, oh, that brings a whole new meaning to his second name. Ugh. When you start a film, it makes an agreement with you that the plot threads that it sets up will have some kind of payoff. I feel like this film breaks that agreement. The setups that it has are not paid off in any meaningful or emotionally resonant way. And beyond that, it suffers from many of the same problems as the first film regarding the consistency of its characters and plot choices and character writing. Whereas, in contrast, as much as we criticized the first film, I do feel like it did a much better job of paying off those plot points that it sets up and keeping to that agreement that you implicitly make with it. As such, it doesn't really... the film hasn't really affected me that much, which is kind of the whole point of watching a film in the first place. So, disappointment... I'm going to give this a 5 out of 12 because I gave the first one a 6, and I would definitely, after some consideration and discussion of it, consider this a lesser film than the first one, primarily due to the inconsistency of the plot threads and the theming. Therefore, 5 out of 12, plenty of ketchup, but overall, it's a little bit bog standard. It's a bit like it's kind of sad to look at because you looked at the menu, you saw the amazing picture, and then you've just been handed a little bit of a flaccid one, you know, which is not going to be a problem for the next one, but that's for next week.
Very falling down pilled on that review. Wow, yes. Chat scores. We got some 8s, we got some 7s, we got a 6. So we're clustering it. Chat is going mid on this one. I will join them. Okay, I wanted my hot take. I wanted to say this is significantly better than the first one. I think, gosh darn it, this is a tough case to make. I don't think I can hold to my hot take. I want to say this is not justifiably derided. I believe it's more coherent. It just is less ambitious, especially when we hit the escape quest, you know, just location hopping. That is when we get into tourism central and the film becomes far less interesting to me. But it's got that amazing start. It just, this film for me is thrown off by having great ideas that are not followed through on, and we're having to do quite a lot of work to infer a better film, i.e., you know, Don being able to track his kids down to the end is because he's actually got some kind of mutation to the rage virus, making him smarter. We're having to do that as a deliberate thing versus they just needed they needed the fight to happen, even though that is not the real fight, because the real fight is over the honesty over what happened in the beginning. And that is never resolved, so it's not paid off. And that makes for a poor narrative.
I think that Stone should have been the antagonist of this film.
Because he did nothing wrong? He'd have been
No,
interesting, wouldn't he?
It would, yeah.
And he would be an actual compelling antagonist because
And
his interest is very rational and defensible. Just
And
you've
I'll
seen what it's done,
yeah.
got to be
And
contained.
And I'll go a step further. Scarlett, or like Rose Byrne's character, should have been alongside him as the scientific explanation to confirm things like, this one's acting weird. It seems to be generating it must be a mutated form of the virus. Perhaps it was because he was directly infected from our carrier. Do you know what I mean? Like, it should have, you know,
something like she's got him, and then she realized they think they can contain him, but because it's changed, he's smarter and he gets out. Something about sort of your systems can't handle chaos.
Yeah,
it would have improved it massively.
Yeah. And maybe mum isn't killed. Maybe they get in there just in time, and then sort of like the film sort of goes from there. And it's actually the mother, and perhaps Doyle's character Jeremy Renner, trying to get the kids out of London, as opposed to just two random adults.
Would have improved it. We've got another 5 coming in. I'm not going to a 5 from Mr. GB. I'm not going to go with a 5. I think that's a bit harsh. I am actually going to draw it even with the first one. 6.
My score is very much dictated on the score I gave last week. So, like, if I scored it a 9 last week, then this would have been an 8.
They're both very flawed.
Yeah.
Both massively need a script polishing. This one had a lot more chaos in it that could have been removed. If you de-chaos it, it would be much better. Whereas the first is just more maybe coherent, but it's just sloppy mistake after sloppy mistake that should have been taken out. So different kinds of errors. They both get the 6, and this will bode, I think, quite well for 28 years later, which we will, of course, get to next week. So you'll not be surprised, folks. We are going through this series. We've done 1 and 2. We will now come to 3. 28 years later, we're covering it next week. That is your horror homework. Get yourself to the cinema and see yourself a legally purchased copy of the film and enjoy it. It's a controversial one. I know it split the fan base, but I think we can make a good case for it. Certainly, I really rather enjoyed it, and I think it's one of the ones that is going to hold up rather well on a rewatch. Anyway, as I said, I've got to nip off to do some chicken tending. So thank you so much for watching. Massive thank you to the panel. Thank you, Murgoot.
Thank you, and thank you for the chat.
Absolute pleasure, and kudos to you soldiering on with a sore throat. Very much appreciated. And TCG as well. Thank you very much, friend.
Pleasure as always.
Yeah. And Harry, absolute pleasure for you to join us.
Cheers.
All right. Chat, thank you. Thank you for the supers and memberships earlier. Very much appreciated. Yep. You've got your horror homework. This was our discussion of 28 weeks later. We will see you next week for 28 years later. Oh, and I have a closing note. There were member requests. One request was for The Bleeding House. I'm struggling to get a copy of that. I think I found it, but I might be out. I might have to basically watch it on some dodgy Daily Motion site because I can't find the bloomin' film anywhere. But that review is coming. I'm probably going to bundle a couple of requests up in Saturday sessions. So don't worry, they are coming. Just balancing real life with channel, as we sadly almost do. So quick note there, ending it. Really enjoyed the stream. Folks, I hope you got a good Friday ahead of you and a lovely weekend after that. And I will sign off now. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
#show gang.
Big dress.